Another interview?
Another interview, another session, another book.
Another book? Okay.
We're here to talk about your second book, Father,
Yes.
Stability and Satisfaction in Remarriage.
Yes, please.
Father, this book is particularly for couples that are wanting to remarry, right?
Yes, please.
Okay.
After divorce.
After divorce.
Yeah, because some people remarry after the loss of a spouse, the death of a spouse.
Got it.
But this one was focused on remarriage after divorce.
Got it. In that token, I also know that, Father, this came from your dissertation, right?
Yes, please.
What made you choose remarriage as a topic even to write about?
Okay, that's a very important question. You are now taking me back into the box. So, what happened? One of my professors realized that I had written about serial monogamy.
Okay.
Serial monogamy meaning that people divorce, remarry, divorce, remarry, remarry. So it was serial monogamy.
Got it.
Until then, the question I asked myself, why do people, for instance, get into this kind of trend of life? And in further research, that is where I said, maybe if we can do a study, I can do a study about people to be stable rather than 2 years, another 3 years. This is not pointing fingers, but I lived in a point of my life where people were remarrying and divorcing, remarrying and divorcing, until I came up with the idea of people being stable in a marriage. And the beautiful part of the story is that one of my mentors told me, Joseph, don't only study stability, we also need satisfaction. So study the two factors. So now, so that people can be stable and satisfied in remarriage after divorce. Because constant changes, it also affects the children who come into the remarriage.
And Father, when you wrote this, because it was also part of your dissertation, the lens you take is from a Catholic approach?
No. Primarily, I interviewed people of different faith, including Catholics. Of course, then the questions of the faith would come up. I'm Catholic. I want to remarry in the church. And since the church is the mother, now things have changed. We can't simply say, okay, the marriage did not work. You remember we spoke about mental health in the first book? Some of these people have had very difficult situations in marriage with too much alcohol, married with people with addictions. So people have suffered enough. That's much I can say. So now these ones who had kind of acquired stability in their marriage, we are saying, yes, the first marriage did not work. I was married in the church, but now I want to receive Jesus. I want to be at right with God. So now what I didn't do during the study, but it is now included in this book, is the topic of annulment, to help the Catholics know, because these words appear, annulment. What is that word? So I included 3 chapters in this book, which were not part of the dissertation. And one is to heal from the trauma of divorce. People need, before they marry, they need to heal from the trauma. Second, to process the annulment process. And that one, in the book it is explained how to go about it. And then third, how to prepare for the marriage within the church. So, in that way, the Catholics are covered in the book. On the other hand, divorce is not only within the Catholic Church. People from all walks of life, that's why the book is for all people. Catholics, Hindus, other denominations and other cultures are still taking remarriage or divorce as taboos.
I was going to ask you that. Remarriage is not a very common topic for a lot of cultures. So what lens or aspect of that do you bring into this book, taking into account that it's not necessarily common?
Okay. Now, without giving so many details,
we want to keep some of the good stuff for people who read the book.
Is this. we want it or not, as I said, marriage is not easy for some people, especially with those difficulties that we have spoken about. People can be chronologically mature, but emotionally immature. Okay?
Yes.
And so when they get married, even if they were 18 or beyond 18, they got divorced afterwards. And they're still in their 30s, in their 40s, even whatever, 20s. Now, is this person now, because the marriage ended, divorced, should remain alone for the rest of their life?
No.
So, the church is the mother. Now the church is studying what really happened for these people to divorce. So when the annulments are granted by the church, it is not giving flyers. The marriage is studied to know that really what really went on for this marriage not to function. The first book, as you say, it is Stability and Satisfaction in Marriage. These books are complementary. For those that the marriage did not work now and they are interested in remarriage, they should now do some homework of healing themselves so that they don't carry this pain into the second marriage. Choose well, and the participants who contributed to this book were all remarried people, and they said this is what people need to know when they are planning for remarriage. And in fact, one of the things I want to show you, which was the synthesis of, I think in this book, it is what we call the primary factors for remarriage and the secondary factors for remarriage. All these are the participants who, this was a qualitative study, not quantitative, so people gave a lot of information, and the book also is a workbook. People, they can reflect about what it means. There are keys, like for instance, the different factors, the keys, and then experience of others. People need to know about it. But I want to emphasize that one of the things which people emphasize were the identification of these factors which make remarriage work. Committed love is one of the most important. Integral maturity, all these are called primary factors, and these are called secondary factors, and they are all important to make remarriage work.
I love that. So you can get an actual workbook. You're not just reading a book and hoping you can apply it. You apply it day by day.
Yes.
And the committed love. I'm not married, but I can also know that love is not always going to be easy. You have to commit to it.
That's true.
That's why it's at the center. Beautifully said.
Yes.
Father, when you think about remarriage, or it's not always just two people coming together and falling in love. They sometimes have their own children, and there's adjustments that go into that. Do you take into account the child as well?
Yes. Also, these books, in this book, also the children are taken into account, because every time some of them are so young, but even teenagers and adults, you see your parent is being mistreated by one of the parents, and sometimes it is very hard when people use the children to attack the other parent. So, in this book, there are strategies, or I call them keys to ways of handling that. How do you handle a situation where your children are involved, in order that they also adjust to the new person?
Yeah.
They wish you the best as their mom, they wish you the best as your dad, but at the same time, don't put them against the other parent. So, but the other person also, to the non-biological parent who is getting the step parent, should not become immediate as the disciplinarian. Then children are going to resent that. Okay, so the biological parent, there's a number of strategies, ways of making the remarriage work. All these things are discussed. And at the same time, introducing the parent, the prospective partner, into the lives of the children, immediately once you know the person, also the participants said that is not a good idea. And so, relate as adults, when something has been solidified, then you can bring the other person into the picture, into the children, into the life of the children. Because today you say, oh, But I just discovered, no, he has this, therefore I'm leaving this person. Then the children have started bonding with that person, and then they have to leave. So it's not only the parents who are affected, but the children too. But also, many children have come to embrace their step-parents because they are there for them.
They become like their actual birth parent. Not birth parent, but take that father figure, mother figure in their life.
Okay. Yeah, and they are people wiser too. I mean, they have grown, they have learned, they have wisdom, which comes with age.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Father, I think the last question, last two questions actually I have. One of them is, what would you like your reader to take out of this book? I know we've touched on workbook, we've touched about the fact that you talk about marriage, you talk about annulment, you made this not just Catholic friendly, but also for anyone in any religion and walk of life. They can read this when they're considering remarriage. But is there some singular message you'd like your reader who's considering remarriage to know? Okay.
In this book, they are called the factors that influence stability and satisfaction. Okay. The factors. So a number of them. In the other book, it was a developmental approach from discerning the vocation to marriage to being together in heaven. On the other hand, in this book on remarriage, the question is, what are the factors that influence stability and satisfaction? So you have, for instance, committed love, which we have spoken about, integrated maturity, keeping the boundaries, because marriage is now complex. The other person is still, the ex is still, the former spouse is still alive, and also still has the impact on these children, but also the boundaries, because if it is amicable, it can also be complicated. Yeah. Being so amicable with the other person, it is okay for the children, but not so friendly too. So that's another thing. Then, another important thing, one of the factors with spirituality, people need to have a sense of spirituality, communication, and then finances. That's another big picture, because you have, especially those who are having children to support from the other previous marriage. Child support also has to be taken into account, and parents also should be supportive of the other custodian parent. Children are involved. Yes. The parents are involved. The society should be involved. Lawmakers should be involved in really making policies that make marriage work.
Wow, you've really thought this through, Father.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Joseph.
You're welcome. Greetings to our viewers.
Yes. And to our viewers, one just last note. I was going to ask you as a question, Father, but I think it's the same as our previous book that we've mentioned, where if readers want to purchase your book or read your book, they can go on Amazon, type the name in, or they can go on your website, josephkabalibooks.com, and they can find out where you'll be, which parish. And I'm guessing you'll sign this book as well?
Yes, also. And one great clarification, because as you see, this is the 4th edition of this book of Stability and Satisfaction in Remarriage. This, please, when you're buying, make sure you are buying the 4th edition, because the other editions have been modified, and this is the most recent.
The latest and the greatest.
Yes, wonderful.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you,
so much, Father.
Nice to see you.
Always a pleasure.
God bless you.